I was like, oh, what you talking about? All right, so
That-
okay, we got an On My Way podcast reunion going on right here, right? We got our boy Eric Martin.
Martin, I could say the middle name, but I'm gonna leave him alone today. Yeah.
If you ever seen any of our old episodes on the On My Way podcast or whatnot, obviously it's been a few years since then. But
Way.
on the coaches circle with your boy Joshua Dawns, Pernell Bills. Not only is Eric brings a wealth of knowledge of his time as a player, right, to being a coach and the things that he do in the community, for his players, for his community in general. Eric brings a wealth of knowledge that I think great value to what it's like to be a coach and bringing it on to the show. Um, Obviously, we got other things to talk about once the show ends. We'll get to that point once the show gets to the end. But yeah, you got Joshua Darnes, Eric Martin, Pernell Bills, Coach's Circle on the Sports Hungry podcast.
Coach's circle.
You check us out on YouTube. Again, if you want to sponsor any of the episodes, sponsor our podcast, please reach out. We are definitely available to give you good shout outs. Let's work something out here. But again,
Please.
Eric, how you been? How you been, bro?
Been blessed, man. Been blessed. It ain't gonna help being any other way. So, been pretty good. Just taking life every day with all of its surprises and all of its things that I see coming. But rolling with it all. How about y'all, brothers?
I'm
Living,
doing
man.
pretty well.
Living.
Doing pretty good out here. It ain't cold yet, so
Yeah, man. I'm telling you, shoot. I
But
tell you though, man. As we get older, the things that your parents used to say to us, or our parents used to say to us, they make more and more sense. Things like, "Hey, as long as I'm on this side of the dirt," and, hey, things like that. It gets to be more to home because
yeah.
you see where it really could be different.
oh yeah, for
Shoot.
sure.
Hey, look. It's what month are we in? November.
Mm-hmm.
November,
It's still 80 degrees outside.
exactly.
Mm-hmm.
It was 60s for like maybe 2-3 days after the hurricanes, and right back to
Hey,
normal.
look. If you don't want to recognize, hey, I'm just glad to be on, like you said, be on the other side of that dirt.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It
Mm.
could definitely be a lot worse, man. Actually, the FHSA playoff bracket is being released as we speak.
I'm watching on my phone as well.
See, Sanford Seminole got the second seed against Creekside, so we got a road trip to
Uh,
Creekside, St. John's.
Jacksonville up there. Okay, okay.
Yeah, man.
Yeah,
We didn't
y'all should
secure
do well.
that district championship, so we got to make a road trip, but we're gonna have to make a statement too.
Hey, that's
Yeah,
cool.
yeah.
That's cool. That's cool. That's not next week. That's the week after, right?
No, that's next week, a week
Next
from
week.
today.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah,
Okay.
a week
Okay.
from today. So we'll see.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
it looks like in the 6A bracket, a couple of Pensacola teams have made it. Cantonment, Tate, Pace made it against Oviedo, which is another Central Florida team
Of
down here in the
course.
same county as us. I think Escambia High School made it 4A.
Oh
So yeah,
yeah.
Pensacola's pretty well represented as well.
Yeah. Yeah. We got a couple teams, man. It's so hard to keep up with high school, especially Florida high school, because we got everybody fits in. We have so many schools of different sizes now, especially in Pensacola. Like some schools are just bigger than others. So when you think somebody's in 6A, 9A, and 4A, one year they've done this level, then the next year they're in another level just because the student population grew so much. It's just like, hey, well, we'll see where we work out at next time. So
Yeah, and see the crazy part about it is, man, the FHSA in the last I've only been coaching. This is my third and a half year. I started in the springtime, back in 2021, I believe. And they've changed the classifications twice now. Well,
yeah,
it was what I always knew it as, that 1A through 8A. Then it was 1A through 4A, suburban, rural, metro. Then you have now what it is now, which is 1A through 7A. And then you have a separate rural classification. And it's like, I don't see what needed to change. I
Yeah, I
genuinely
think they could have kept that original 1A through what 8A, 8A, 7A.
Yeah,
I
it could
remember
have
six
stayed
A.
there.
I remember 6A used to be the biggest.
Yeah, Yeah, back when Seminole won our first state championship, actually, we were the biggest, and then oh, well, yeah, we're playing at FIU Stadium too in Miami for our state championship, so that should be pretty
That's not a
interesting.
bad stadium either. That's the Pit Bull Stadium now.
Yeah, I haven't even been there yet. I've
Yeah.
heard about the renaming, but I haven't been there just yet. So, but overall, blessed, man. It's a lot of teams, great teams even that didn't get a chance to make it this year. So, blessed for our program at Seminole High School to be there for the I want to say ninth
So,
consecutive year in the playoffs.
so what has it been like from the start? From you starting coaching, and that was what Booker T. Washington, Pensacola, to where you are now, back in your hometown. Like, how has that adjustment has been? Like, what was the eye opener you saw at Booker T. Washington your first year to where you are now as Seminole, a program that's consistently competing for a state championship?
Yeah, man. I mean, I always tell people this, and I really thank God that I've delivered myself from a lot of the I guess emotion that I felt about it. But contrary to how it ended, I actually had a really good time at Booker T. I was learning the game from the sidelines, kind of like we were speaking about earlier, where it's, between the lines is way different than what happens on the sideline. I started playing football pretty late in my life in ninth grade. And, I played offensive line most of my time in high school, defensive line, really my freshman year, and then my senior year, but went to college to play defensive line, and that's my bread and butter, my love there. But trying to learn the game of football while also trying to learn the position while also not playing your position for 2.5 years kind of hurt you. So my first coaching gig, I was learning a lot of the game of football in general and just how schematically does this thing work. I joined my staff there on the belief of a young coach who is also, a alum of his high school at Booker T, and believes in, bringing home the hometown team and making it, this great program that it was. And I believed in that. I worked my butt off every day, coached my butt off every day, learned something every day, and, really enhanced a good unit of guys there within my position group. I'll spare on most of the details, but didn't end the way that I definitely thought it should have. Got let go from the staff. Wanted to make some changes and whatnot. I will say, I was blessed to already have an opportunity before that meeting to come back home and be a part of my hometown team. So the transition was pretty easy from there. The decision was easy from there. It was something that I was praying on because I did believe in the program at Booker T. But you gotta be in spaces where you're appreciated and not where you're tolerated. So, and that's in general, whether it's you talking about
Indeed.
your job, whether you're talking about what you look like, whether you're talking about anything, you have to be in spaces that you are appreciated and not tolerated. And honestly, I don't even believe in forcing yourself into spaces because you know you could be a groundbreaking this, that, and the third, cool, but at the end of the day, will you ever truly be respected in a space that you were never wanted and that you're still not wanted? You're just there because you tied somebody's hand behind their back. You know what I mean? But I came home and I came around a lot better football culture, a lot better coaching, a lot more knowledge on the sidelines. Guys who genuinely love this game of football. I went from a staff where I think only three of us played college ball to a staff where everybody except for maybe like two or three coaches have played college ball on all three levels, freshman, JV, and varsity. Came home to a program where our JV team had only lost, I think, at that point, they hadn't lost a game in like 5 years. And to this day, I think they've only lost two games in the last seven. A varsity program who has lost less than 10 games over the last 7 or 8 years, including playoffs, if I'm not mistaken. This year, we went 8-2. Or I'm sorry, we went 7-2. But now has been reversed to 8-1 due to some technicalities with an FHSA decision against one of our opponents. But we just play good ball, man, and we're challenged as coaches by our head coach to, um, you know, be better coaches in all aspects for the kids, for the program, schematically, everything, and blessed to be under a head coach who was also a great friend of mine, who was a teammate of mine at Seminole High School. He graduated a couple years before me, being Coach Carl Calhoun. So we got a great alum here leading our young men. Thank as well to Eric Lodge, who's now at Berkeley High School in South Carolina, and turning that entire program around and leading them to some good success now. They're going to have a heck of a playoff run here, and probably got a shot to go take it, but really blessed to be back into a position of, being where I'm appreciated and where I'm constantly learning and growing and being challenged with problems that I get to, solve and grow from it.
I always I found it kind of funny how you got into coaches because we talked about it and I knew that you wanted to do education and everything. But to see you actually stick with coaching was, well, I was kind of surprised that you stuck with it over the time. So what was kind of like that? What was that end be all that's like, I really like coaching and I want to stick with it?
Absolutely, man, and for the all in the audience, Josh and I actually lived together for what, 2 years, and we had a lot
Yeah.
of life growth moments. Graduated college a semester apart, and we got our first house together, rented a house together. So we got to see each other to that, like, post collegiate, what are we doing with our life phases.
Yeah.
Um, like, what are we doing here? And you're right, man. It was a little weird just trying to figure out what it was. I got my, bachelor's degree in operations management, minor in finance. I went into that field in a couple different organizations. Didn't care for it, not a desk person. Prayed to God and asked for him to be able to reveal something to me that I could do, and just through the good and the bad, come home and feel happy and satisfied with what I do every day. Teaching came first, I would say, especially, after COVID hit. You needed a recession-proof job. Bills still had to be paid. And I winded up being put into a position through one of my fraternity brothers to attend a Black History event that they were having at his school. And I met with the guidance counselor of a school where I started teaching at, Workman Middle School up in Pensacola. Got a job within like 2 weeks teaching sixth grade math. Literally my first contract day of being a teacher, as far as the state of Florida goes, was the day that the kids never came back from spring break, which inevitably started COVID. So I literally started teaching in COVID. And then my coaching journey actually didn't even start with football. It actually started with middle school track. I was yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I started coaching middle school track, the throws team. I was a really good thrower in high school. Had a good amount of collegiate offers to do it at some pretty big name schools, but inevitably chose to take my run with football. They asked me, and I was like, nah, I don't think so. And then they said it's a stipend, and I said, wait, you ain't say that at first. I can use the extra money.
You gotta lead
Money
with the
talks.
money.
You gotta lead with the dollars, man. And mind you, the teaching salary in Escambia County at that time was 38,000, I think, and that's in like 2020, 2021 school year. So I said, yeah, I'll take the extra couple thousand to go coach kids to throw a shot put, and another organization through my fraternity, Omega Psi Phi, our lamplighter program, who I was heavily involved with at the time. We had a guy who initiated into the organization, JV, and he was like, hey coach, I know you coach throws, and our track coach needs a throws, like, we need a throws coach for our team at Booker T. So I said, okay, cool. So I came out there and met with their top thrower at the time, one of my mentees. He's like a son to me now, named Darius Franklin. And he was a senior that year and looking to, make a run as far as he could with throwing. He had just signed to Mississippi College to play football. I met with him at practice, met with the head coach, Coach Messer, and, talked with him and gave him a little bit of my background and went over to Darius and showed him a few tips and literally started throwing a couple feet more in shot put right there in a couple minutes. And he was like, yep, the job is yours if you want it. So, went from coaching middle school track to then high school track while I was still at the middle school. And then within a couple weeks of doing that, Coach Messer was also the co-DC for the football team. He's like, hey, we need a D-line coach. And, I definitely think you're going to be a great addition. I would love to, have you interview for it. And behind the scenes, I also had some other offers from West Florida High School, from Escambia High School with Coach Bennett just getting there, I think that year. From PHS, from Pine Forest with the last head coach. I think his name's Ronnie, the guy that owns all the car washes up there. But, none of those places really felt like home. I said, if I'm a coach and actually do this and take it seriously, I need to feel at home, not comfortable, but I need to feel where, I'm going to be respected as a man. I'm going to be able to make a difference. And I'm not working under somebody who limits my progress, And like I said, I met with the coach at Washington, young guy. He was an alum, literally reminded me of my own story with it. And I said, you know what? I want to be a part of the history that we can make here. And, we had a decent year. We went, I think, 4-6 that year. We had some guys, but, first year head coach and all that, we just had some stuff to put together. Inevitably, like I said, it did end abruptly for me. A lot of the guys from the defensive side were let go, including myself. Without, going into all the details, I almost gave up coaching actually after that. With it being my first year doing it that fall, the following year, it was one of those things where, and I'm sure, you both know, like, I wasn't let go because I wasn't doing the job. My defensive line unit led tackles in the area. We've had game-winning performances for our team that season. I took basically a band of misfits and made them one of the most productive units in the Panhandle, statistically and everything. Got guys offers. I helped guys with recruiting, everything. But to be let go and say that I don't know if you are a high school level coach, while also being one of the only 3 guys on staff or 4 guys who played college ball, while growing and learning and being a part of game planning, while being on the side of the ball that kept us in games, it was a kick in the nards, because I'm like, wow, like me, I'm not the varsity level coach, But it put me in a place where I was just, really like, I don't know if this is for me, man, because I couldn't make it at a 4-16, But like I mentioned earlier, God allowed me to have an opportunity in the beginning of that season, actually, to come down home, check on my parents. And I went to the Seminole practice to see my guy, Carl, who I mentioned earlier, who's the current head coach. I met with Eric Lodge, who's the former head coach. He offered me a position right there on the spot, said, hey, Carl's told me a lot about you. We'd really love to have you on staff if you're interested next year. And I was like, I don't know. I really, checked the vibes. But once I saw that the vibes didn't check with me, I said, you know what? Let me go home. Prayed about it. I said, it's time to go home. I make more money down here just in the classroom. Stipends are more, but, aside from all of that, I'm around guys who love football enough to not be personal about it. It's football. And I've grown so much as a coach, learned a lot more schematically, developed a lot more in how I coach my guys. Had an opportunity to coach a guy who's currently a true freshman at Duke, showing out right now. Shout out to my boy Preston Watson. I think every guy that I've coached up to this point who's a senior or former senior is either in college playing ball or has had the opportunity to do so, had the offers to do so. So, I've done tremendous progress here. And I think what made me stick with it, to directly answer the question, Josh, is that I found my purpose in it. In our podcast, On My Way podcast, one question I always used to ask at the end to anybody we interview was, do you do what you do for profit, for passion, or for purpose? And I think that with everything that I've been praying for since COVID, when I asked God to show me what is it that, I'm supposed to be doing in life, it's to enrich the lives of the youth. through a medium that we both understand, and that's sports, that's football. And I still did, reach my goals of education thus far. God still has a long road for me, because before coaching, I did, decide to pursue my master's degree in higher education administration, and to work on the administrative side or student affairs side at a college. That's definitely not out of the options. I definitely think that, the right opportunity, I would explore that as well. But, I did, spend my first year at Washington and my first year at Seminole, completing that degree and graduating last year in the spring, or 2 years ago, almost in the spring. So, I definitely think that, I'm proud of myself, and I want to show the kids that I can pursue numerous dreams. Football isn't my end all be all, even from the sidelines. If I want to put the khakis and the headset down and go pick up the two-piece suit and a tie and go be in the office somewhere, I could do that because I put in the work and made the sacrifices to earn that piece of paper and certify me to do that as well. So right now, I really love what I'm doing. I love where I'm doing it at, and just following God's plan to see what's next.
I ask because honestly, we've had a bunch of young people so far, so it's a very relevant question. But in pertaining to you and a couple others, you done got married. I was just there. I was in there,
Yeah.
and I have to ask this question, especially this generation is a little different even from us. So how do you navigate as being a young man yourself? You just recently got married, and then also being a coach and trying to navigate this next generation on how to one play the sport, and then also more or less growing up into manhood. Because as a teacher, as a former teacher myself, these kids they something else.
Man. And God bless the babies, man, because they only do what they learned and what's allowed. That's a whole separate conversation, as you already know.
Indeed.
I think that the biggest way I do that, man, is three components. Number one is consistency. The Coach Martin you see on Monday is the Coach Martin you see on Friday. The Coach Martin you saw on Friday is going to be the same Coach Martin you see on the following Monday. What I stand for is what I stand for. What I don't allow is what I don't allow. I don't care who you are, how much reps you get, where you start, or whether you ride the bench. If I roll you because you have Fs, I'm going to roll you because you have Fs. If I praise you because you have A's, I'm going to praise you because you have A's, and I don't care who you are. If you make a mistake and I chew you out, I'm gonna chew you out. All right. Kids peep consistency and they see that, you know what, I could rock with you a little bit more because no matter who it is, you call the same thing. It's even Steven. This guy
Yeah.
never gets out of the game and you got on him when he messed up versus me only getting the game 2 times, and when I messed up, you still got on me. Right. So regardless, I keep it consistent. The second thing I would say is that I have a lot of humility. Like I said, I started playing this game late. Some of these guys been playing football since they were 5 years old, 4 years old. I didn't start playing until I was 14, 15 years old. Telling them, hey, the question you asked me, if I don't know, I don't know. But guess what? I'm going to go ask my head coach. And if he doesn't know, we're going to go ask somebody else, and I'm going to come back to you with an answer. Big piece of advice I give to a lot of young coaches, because kids compete, man. Kids compete the BS. They know when you
Can
don't
they?
know. you know. And with our scheme and how in depth it is, some of these guys have been in the scheme longer than I have as a coach, as a player. So they're like, sometimes they'll try to check you, be like, oh, what do you know for real? And then see if you just faking the funk. Being honest and being like, I don't know, or you know what, let's put it on the board and see how that would go if we did that. Or, just finding the different ways to make sure that you are the expert in your position group, but knowing that when I'm not the expert in that moment, that I can be humble enough to just say, I don't know. I think the last thing is kind of a mix of the two, of humility and consistency, but more so in my personal life, right? They see that I'm a consistent husband, right? No, we can't meet up this Saturday. I got to go take my wife out. I'm going to take my wife out. My wife shows up to a lot of things, and that's a huge shout out to her, because it's hard being a coach's wife.
Yo, she's 1,000% one of a kind.
She
But
ride or die. I see on the
yeah,
story she got on the shirt, she got on the makeup or whatever. She rocking with her man.
the
she,
game I
she's
went,
literally learned to love the game because of me.
the game I went to, I was like, Oh, okay.
Yeah, like in it, like lost her voice going crazy. I I commend her so much, man, because she literally is such a girly girl from up north. Football is not, this big of a thing up there. So like she's not even into sports really. So for her to show the passion and the support that she does behind me in my career is immaculate, and it really helps me do the things that I do because I know that I have somebody back behind me or next to me supporting me, but the boys see that. The boys peep. Like I don't catch Coach Martin talking to Miss So and So in the teachers' lounge. I don't catch Coach Martin, telling us not to smoke weed, and then he coming to practice smelling like a pound. I keep it real and I keep it consistent. I don't lie to them. If they ask me something, I'll be like, yeah, or if it's something that we're not gonna talk about, I say, hey man, like no, like, and I think that if I had to say a fourth thing too, Josh, it'd be separation. A lot of young coaches where they fail at is that they try to be these kids' friends. And I'm
Yeah,
like, yo, I'm only about 10 years older than the seniors right now, maybe like 11, depending on when they were born. But at the end of the day, homie, I'm not your friend. I'm not your friend, man. Like I went to school with some of y'all people for real. Like I'm not your friend. So let's get that very clear. I may crack one with you. I may joke with you a little bit. I'm a cool coach, but I'm not your friend. That
facts.
separation helps a lot because they know that Coach Martin is Coach Martin. One thing I get on anybody about whether you in my position group or not, they say, "Oh, Martin," or "Oh," I don't answer. I don't answer until I hear a coach in front of that or a mister in front of that because I'm a grown man. And if I allow it, then I'm gonna. What I'm doing is allowing it for you to do it to somebody else. And if they decide to check it or not, that's on them. But I'm going to, right? Because you got to learn that there's respect to be had, and when it's your time to have that respect from somebody else, then you will know why it's so important to have it. So I think those are the big things, man, of what drives the success as a young coach. Because you just have to be firm, you have to be fair, you have to be the example. They saw me going through my last year of grad school, for those guys that's been with me for the last couple of years or even some that's graduated. They saw me leaving practice and hopping on a Zoom call for class. They saw me writing 10, 15-page papers. They saw me doing the same thing that they were doing in their classes every day and saying, dang, like you didn't give up. Like you didn't let anything be an excuse to your success. Like keeping it real, man, in all aspects, but keeping it stern too.
Firm and consistent. That's all they care about.
Oh yeah.
What has been some of the things you've done in the community that has been, let's say, it's not technically in your job description, but that you've done it on the community side, regardless of what you're, expected to do?
Man, so much. In my current position, I actually in the school, I'm blessed to be teaching a program called the Young Men of Excellence, which is a program founded in Seminole County, and I think it's only in Seminole County, where we've grown from being like an after school club back when I was in high school to being a cohort class, and not just at Seminole High School, but in now around the county. But it started at Seminole at the high school level. um, the group is targeted towards mentoring young Black men and young minority men and teaching them the aspects of manhood. Me taking over, I've taken a different spin on it by actually creating lessons to attack things that you may not be learning at home because there may not be a man at home. For example, right now we're in class, we're talking about car maintenance and car shopping, and I'm teaching the boys different things about car maintenance, like, hey, you need to check your oil every 5,000 miles or every 6 months, whichever comes first. You need to check under the hood for your fluids every so often to make sure that your fluid levels are good. You need to, keep a spare tire, and you need to check that every so often, make sure it hasn't rotted or make sure that it still has air. Just things that you haven't heard at home because either no one's there that knows how to teach it to you or no one's there to teach it to you. With that, we do a lot of work in the community. This weekend alone, we're having a social event with the other young men and women of excellence programs at a skating rink here in the area. And then on Sunday, we are volunteering downtown Sanford for the Food Truck Festival, which is a citywide event. A lot of food trucks from around the Tampa and Jacksonville, Central Florida areas come out. And the boys are going to be cleaning up around the event, making sure that our city streets are kept up, and then also promoting our organization to others, in the community, passing by, coming to our tent, etc. Outside of that, I mean, that does take a lot, and it is a lot, but I also have a scholarship organization called the Be More, Do More Scholarship Fund, where I honor my defensive line coach from high school who was unfortunately killed immediately after my graduation. And he was a huge person in the community, Pop Warner commissioner for the city of Sanford, a former Seminole High School alum, player, played college ball, even had a cup of tea in the NFL. And came back to his community to support the kids and, do a great job coaching. And, he meant a lot to me. He was a large part of the reason why I played football, why I wanted to play defensive line. And, I started a scholarship about 5 years ago in his name. And we've been blessed to be able to give out about $6,000 of scholarships to Seminole High School graduating students. The scholarships cater towards, our graduating student athletes who are also involved in the community or involved in sport and involved in sports, while also being involved in a leadership organization in the community or at school, and just, getting them to reflect on their, what the value of leadership is to them and how it's affected them in their lives. I mean, I could talk for days about, the community work, that I do, but I'm just blessed to be able to be in a position to do it. Whether it's my community, whether it's the Pensacola community, working with the lamplighters there, working through my fraternity, whatever it may be, I'll find a way to give back because it's not about me. Because once my stint's done, I want to be able to have 100 people say that I touched them in a way that they can touch 100 people and vice versa, and keep it moving. That's how we change the world.
Indeed, indeed.
How do you find the time? That's a lot on your plate. How do you find the time to organize yourself to do all those things, to hit all those responsibilities?
To be honest, man, one of my mentors told me something a long time ago. You don't find the time, you make it. Anything that you say you want to do in this life, you can't find the time because you'll never find it because it's always something else that would take you from it. You have to make it. I know, and I keep a very precise calendar. And even, me and Nate, my wife, we joke about it all the time. Like even today, you know, I was like, hey, I got a meeting with my financial advisor, and she completely forgot. So she was expecting us to, go to lunch, and I was like, I told you I had a meeting. She's like, and I'm like, oh, baby, I'm sorry. Like, it's on the calendar. But, I keep a very strict calendar. For the most part, she's my backup calendar. She's always, hey, don't forget this. Hey, don't forget that. I've learned to be a lot more organized and know like my hard limits. Like on Sundays, okay, we got coaches meetings from 9 a.m. to roughly 11 or 12. From there, if I have an event with Young Men of Excellence, I go from there. I'm really good with communication too. One thing I always try to preach to my kids, hey coach, I know we have meetings from like 9 to 11, but I have to be downtown for this event for Young Men of Excellence at 11, and that's my paycheck, that's my job. So I'm gonna come in early, or I'm gonna be on time. I'm gonna speak my piece, and if I gotta dip out early, boom. But that all takes communication and understanding. But it's really just a lot of making the time, being organized, and communication.
How does Coach Martin prepare for Fridays? Because you got a busy schedule. You got your wife at home. You got teaching responsibilities. How does Coach Martin prepare for Fridays mentally and physically? Because you're not playing no more. But
Man,
regardless of how it is, coaching, as much as it is mental, it's definitely a physical toll on the body.
it is, man, and I'll be real with you, man. This year specifically has been a lot different in how I prepare, just because life has changed. Getting married, taking care of the old folks. Just a lot of things have been added to my plate this year that I honestly wasn't even expecting, didn't even sign up for. I think these days prayer is the biggest preparation I have. I speak a lot on God. I've speak a lot on, in the podcast, but truly I couldn't do half of the things, a quarter of the things, any of the things that I do without the power of him flowing through me. Some days it's hard to hear my alarm. I open my eyes and I'm just like, God, I want to lay in the bed, but hey, because I got to get up,
Here we
man.
go.
And I genuinely pray a lot. I pray in the mornings when I wake up. I pray throughout the day. I pray before I go to sleep. I pray before games. Just, hey, keep these boys focused, keep their minds right, keep their bodies together, keep our team together. I used to be really big into pregame music, having playlists. I even, got some new beats, the studio beats this year, that I really wanted. Actually, Nate got them for me. I got some other ones, and then I didn't like those, the solos. And she was like, okay, well, you want the studios, so she got me the studios for my birthday. But I try to do that a little bit, but sometimes you just don't find the time. But I always make the time for prayer. I think that on Fridays, I take a little bit of time to just dump everything, because once that whistle blows and once that kickoff happens, one way or the other, nothing else matters in that moment. But for the next 48 minutes, football is the only thing that matters. So I take some time to dump all of my worries out, all of my daily life out, all of my job stuff out. Is gone and into the wind. I put it in the hands of God so I can focus on the mission, which is winning this ball game and coaching my guys up.
What's been that? What's been that dang, man? What's been that moment for you for coaching? Because I ain't gonna hold you. When I had my first stint of coaching, I took a little mark at coaching a little kid at baseball. For me, it was even at teaching. It was really, they not you. These kids are not you, so you can't expect you from them. You have to learn to accept them where they are and where they at. So what's kind of been that thing for you as far as coaching? What's been that one little ick that kind of, I'll say halted you, but you had to make that realization as you continue to grow as a coach.
I think for me, I'm a pretty quick learner. I see something and I can do it. I try something, I can do it. I pick up things very well. Both, like you said, as a teacher and as a coach, one thing I've had to realize is that guys don't learn the same. I get
Yeah.
irritated with repeating myself. I hate it. But I've learned that to be an effective coach is not about you. It's about
hmm
the kids. It's about whoever you're coaching, right? Because I may be, let's say, a kinesthetic learner, but all of my kids might be visual learners. So it's not about how I learned it. It's about how I need to get you to learn it, and really getting the kids to also understand that too. How do you learn?
hmm
Because sometimes I've asked kids, like they'll ask me a question like, Coach, when we run this, how am I supposed to know what to do? And I say, well, before I answer that, how do you learn? And they're like, what do you mean? And I'm like, are you a physical kinesthetic learner? Are you a visual learner? You see something and you can do it? Are you an auditory learner? How do you learn? And they're like, I don't know. And I was like, well, let's establish that first. So whenever we go into install, especially, before the fall, before the spring, and during the summer, we always do the same installs 3 times a year. And I make sure that we do kinesthetic. So I set up trash cans or chairs or whatever. And I say, against this, what do we run? Against this, and we call this, what do we run? On the whiteboard, and I have them take notes. And then I also, give them some sort of auditory way to learn as well. So just really learning how they learn and getting them to understand how they learn and get them to grow in that aspect has definitely been the thing. Because like I said, I don't like repeating myself, but learning, hey, sometimes you have to.